Right. Come on. Oh, now I'm good. Right. Thank you very much.
Well, we can hear you now.
Oh, it's better now.
It's perfect now. We can hear you now. I think you were far from your phone or something.
No, I'm actually. The total part is the nine here. But anyway, right. So, as I was saying, that it is obvious that we have got a problem in Zimbabwe, in Harare. And I think, if we want to extrapolate that problem to other cities, we can find similar issues. What has been of interest to note has been the explanations that have been given. I was listening to Mayor Mafume speaking about the issue, and he said something which I think I can play so that kune avo vanenge vakamisa or those who have missed him, you can hear what he said. So this is what Mayor Mafume said pertaining, to that.
And all stakeholders. What is clear at this point is that there needs to be an all stakeholders concerted effort to deal with pollution in our water body and also to deal with the treatment of our affluent. So we need the government to come and chip in with the resources and the expertise that is required for us to be able to treat this water. Then secondly, for the city, we need an urgent upgrade of our sewer reticulation system, the one that already exists. But however, the informal settlements, and I've stated before, have increased. We have over 150,000 informal settlements. In other words, settlements that are not regularized. And these settlements do not have sewer reticulation systems. Therefore, their discharge is going straight into our water bodies, and this now needs to be regulated, and a stop needs to be put on irregular settlements. And the challenge we are having is that around the shores of Lake Chivero, there is a growing settlements, informal settlements, and then these are again increasing poaching activities and also polluting the lake, so to speak. And these have to be stopped or regulated.
Right. So that was Mayor Mafume, speaking in response to the video that was, released. And there's also, there's also another councillor who came out and spoke. I think, let me see.
My name is Councillor Kutsai Katombe with the city of Harare. I'm here at Lake Chivero. As you can see, the green that has been circulating on social media, and obviously on statements that have been done, is a reality. I'm here on the ground. I've been speaking to the local fishermen, and they've been saying that each year they have an issue with algae, but it has never reached to these levels. And when I was EMC chairperson of the city of Harare in 2018 to 2020, these are some of the issues that, we raise in council, trying to ask our own engineers of the city what our long-term plan is with liquid waste management. I know pre-colonial they had started making efforts to make sure that the paddocks are there. We've got cattle that are where would then put in the effluent, and the cattle would then kind of manage the effluent there in the paddocks. But we've seen that these paddocks have been invaded. We're seeing that the same land is being regularized. The cattle are being stolen every day. But obviously, as a city, we need to find a long-term solution. This just does not affect Harare, but it affects all the other local authorities around us. Government was supposed to construct Kunji Dam, and which was then supposed to, relieve the pressure of the city of Harare in terms of water. But as a council, we are also kind of responsible because we are also then, directly putting our influence into, Lake Chivero. And this is the cause of it. I was speaking to them and they were telling me that, the zebras, the rhinos, wildebeest, cattle, goats, we've seen videos of fish dying. So all this wildlife has just been affected, and livestock, of course, domesticated livestock has also been affected. And I just think about what a waste this is. So this is really my call to engineers from Harare, from Zimbabwe, across the borders. That how can we try and mitigate this, reduce this, save Lake Chivero, and the wildlife around it, but at the same time finding solutions for the liquid waste management of the capital city. This is not right. And as a policymaker, my heart bleeds when I see such destruction of the environment, because this is something that is so passionate to me as an individual and as a person, and worse off as a leader. So this is my call to you. Please come through. I want to hear the suggestions. Let's help each other to save Lake Chivero.
Right. So that is one of the councillors, who went to Lake Chivero, did the video. And in there, I mean, if you hear Mayor Mafume, when he was speaking, he was talking about and the stakeholders, ASA, must come together now and see how we can solve, this problem. And then he majorly blamed what he termed it to be illegal settlements around the Lake Chivero, and that we have got no proper sewer systems, and this is causing the pollution inequity kuna Lake Chivero. And then if you hear, this councillor, she's also talking about the role of the central government in the development of another facility, another water body, Kunji Dam, which is not, which was supposed to have been, built, but it has not been built. And also, she was, she was honest, right there, to say that us as council, we are to blame because we are allowing this, to happen. So it seems as if um, there's a lot of talk when it comes to who is really to blame, or what is to blame when it comes to the situation that we are finding ourselves in. When you bring in the political aspect of it, you hear the politics around that speaks to the failure of the opposition in running Harare City Council. It is, and they say, they are saying that before the opposition, came in, when it was Zanu PF running, these councils, we never had my problems. Finding my problems are true one. Saka, I mean, it's, at the end of the day, with all these things, that are being said, with all the blame passing on the back from one side, to the other, you would find that the only people, that are at the receiving end here are the residents of Harare. Mayor Mafume is saying that the water that they are treating is safe. They are doing it according to the World Health standard. But that water that is saying that they're treating according to the World Health standards is coming from a polluted water body. That polluted water body if you see it now, starting to be killing animals, then you wonder whether he is being honest enough to be telling us that the water that is coming through is safe for people, to drink. And do we even have safe water that is running through my taps in Harare? That is one of the big, one of the big questions. Maybe I'm coming to national good my taps in Harare are good mvura here, so that we begin to understand. I mean, not Kutizo, we begin to understand, because we are already understanding the magnitude of the problem that we are facing in Harare when it comes to the sewer system, when it comes to the water, when it comes to service delivery, because it is a holistic problem that is now embedded, that in the way that the city council is being run. You are seeing Kutizo, it is characterized by failures at every point when it comes to the issues of service delivery. So let us have a conversation. I'm hoping that we will invite them midway, or along the conversation, Miyama Fume, to come here so that you can talk to us. So ngoma tinase zviri sei?
Ai uncle zviri sei muri right here?
Havana apa ndimi muri paground, tipewo tinzwa.
Mvura kubuda pamatepi here, vanhu tangoshandisa mabhoho.
Iri kubuda here mvura yacho?
I would how many years since water came out of the tap? But kune amwe areas I think where tap water comes out. But in so many areas, mvura haitobudi. I remember mazuva ndaigara before I moved to Mount Pleasant, I used to stay Hatfield. Mvura yanga isingambobudi mutap, haina kumbobvira yambobuda. Matapsi, I mean, I think in all the years I stayed ikoko, I think yakangobuda a few times within the year, and paibuda pacho yanga yakasviba. But as far as people are concerned right now, people just use balls. Yeah, that's what we use. I mean, now when you usually don't have houses that don't have a ball, and that creates another problem in itself. But mvura yepatepa kwacho kwainobuda, no one really drinks it, because I think you've seen pictures on social media vanhu vachiisa glass mvura yobuda mutepe, and then you see a lot of like black stuff, or some stuff that shows that water is not safe at all. Saka
right. Saka mayor is lying up, because if you say it's good, so the water that they are treating is that is coming out, you would think that in every household mune tap water ngerubuda.
Inema, and I guess for him, he's just managing. It's basic PR. You cannot expect anything else from him. But well, actually, I'm wrong. We should expect him to at least be honest. But then, if he was honest, then people would then have a field day.
Right.
I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying he's just managing. It's PR. He's managing the disaster. It's a disaster, and he wants to claim that we are okay. We don't have a disaster. No, we have a disaster, guys.
Saka, okay, blame our mind. Who should be, because we are seeing blame ingokandirwa the politics zikapinda, who this one opposition is out of its depth in terms of running my city council, in terms of running my cities. And here we've got a situation whereby the opposition is controlling 33 out of 34. Saka, who is really to blame here for the situation yatiri kuona muHarare? Ndaona masuwa pipes mamwe acho ari kuita akarohwa nengura akaboka, mvura is just being spilled into Mukuvisi, and it's making its way to Lake Chivero. Saka, who is to blame, and what should be the solution to the problem? Because it's one thing to be finding blame, but there is also this thing about my solutions. What is it that needs to be done to address, the problem? What needs to be done?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think Nyaeko Aposhina blame that is a subjective one, and people can have arguments over it. I'm not going to get into that, but I think it's a good discussion to have. Who is to blame? And it's important. I can see Padari is laughing because if I were to just say, all right, Zanu PF is to blame, hapana zvandaita, but I can say that, and I can start moving and telling you why I say Zanu PF is to blame. But I would rather look more at I think one thing that the mayor himself mentioned, yema settlements are kuitwa without proper planning are contributing to the effluent because nyaya settlements are kuitwa without planning nenyaya management of waste, waste management, because that waste is not supposed to be going into the lake. And so that needs to be sorted out. Definitely that needs to be corrected. And I think that other recording you played, explain yema paddocks angambo ripo, but I think that was so long ago. I don't know why she was explaining it as if it's something that was functional. Yeah, what is needed definitely are solutions, but it's a game, blame game, and it's important. We can look at the history when the councils agatorwa the opposition, the ruling party then came about to start creating its own parallel structures to go against the opposition, and taking the finances that should be used towards making things better there. So there's so much to address there, but getting more see.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Wizo Mutoriro, how are you? And Wizo Mutoriro. Wizo Ribwera.
Ndiripo.
Maro Mutoriro remda.
Kurohwa nemutoriro chaiwo zviri sei yangu.
Avana vamurize?
Aiwa, kungokiya wena.
Anditi.
Ndakaona pane imwe tweet yakameya vachiti hanzi mvura yatinotirita iri safe.
Yes.
Toda kutsvaga girazi remvura tomupa kuti anwe. Because kana ichiuraya chipembere iyo kuti iri safe ndokunyeba kuri pachena ikoko.
Right.
Mukuru iye anofanira kunwiswa mvura iyo ari kuti iri safe. Zvakadhakwa zvaari kutaura. He should stop lying and appreciate that we have got a problem.
Yeah.
There is no need because kwandogara kumufakose uko handizivi kuti takapedzera kuona mvura rini mutepi. Hakuna mvura. Mapaipi ekwamazaya ari kungodhuzhuka. Zvakatodhakwa. Yes, it's true. Pane this issue yevanhu illegal settlers. But how does it blow kusvika pavanhu more than 100,000?
It's actually shocking. Good, you've got 150,000, and they actually know the number. That they are
know
about
the actual numbers,
150,000,
and they pretend it's a mess.
Yeah, bagaipa.
It's a mess. And it's a mess.
And we need the new leaders. Seriously.
Aiwa, naye mafumo wacho hapana chinozikanwa kana hapana chinozikanwa.
Right. Saka zvoitwa sei naye mukoma?
The first thing is to accept kuti we have got a problem, because he is trying kuti haiwa mvura yatino, we really need to go to basics and
Right.
make sure kuti accept kuti pane problem, and the government yopa proper funding kuti pagadzirwe like, to be honest, mukaona the situation iri kuhove kuya kwao kuleki kuya kwao, it's sad.
Mm.
And ndo hove dziri kutengeserwa vanhu kunana dziva rasekwawo vakomanaka, it's a time bomb iri kuitika.
Yeah.
And unopedzisira wakungotenga hove dzedzo because ndo zviri affordable, and vanozvichipisa kuti zvirohwe faster. We have got a real problem. We need to just put aside my political affiliations. Kuti ini ndosapota Zanu, ndosapota MDC or CCC or whatever, whatever party. We acknowledge problem iripo and fight together, because we are all Zimbabweans. And tisu tinonwa mvura iyoyo. Yes, vane option yemaboho, fine, but kumfakosa hakuna maboho.
Saka vari kurarama nei vanhu ngekumfakosi kana vasina nemabohos?
Vandira mvura yekutenga.
Hey.
Hapana, ndo the only way yekutoti kutorarama, otherwise torai girazi remvura mumupe mafumo wacho anwe.
Right.
It's said zvinorwadza.
Yeah, pakaipa.
And I don't even know kuti mvura yacho yakapedzisira kubuda rini mutepi macho. Maybe kune preferred areas ainofanira kunge ichiflowa. But I'm on the ground kumfakosi hakuna mvura yemutepi, hakuna, hazviko. It's said ndo chokwadi chiripo. And woita
Right.
situation yekuti tomboti panenge vazhinji ezvinezvi they are surviving on kuisa zvidhanginya zviya zvokuti vaise maroja. Pakaoma. It's said.
Right.
Ndo ka50 cents kangu angu.
Yeah, Ndishika, thank you very much. If Mayor Gomba, if he can grace us today, there's a letter, that he did send me, but that letter is kind of, blurred. But it's a letter about the facility yakapiwa nemachina ye. I think it amounted to, I can't remember what it amounted to 141 ere. If I'm not mistaken, 141 million ere. I guess is here. That facility here. But ukaona some I'm not, it's not clear, man. To date, about $3 million has been spent on procurements, including about $1 million on procurement of 21 vehicles ranging from pickups to SUVs. It's not clear. And so that kind of 2 million this later again. So if you remember, there was a loan yakatorwa to first to sort out I think to sort out Morton Jeffrey or something like that. But that money it was never used for my purposes. I can't tell you what to think our motikari dzavo dzawangene ngivakufamba nadzo and you wonder kuti manje kana maproblems achinge akuzobuda akadai so aya manje panenge pakunzi maresettlement machii nemareva. But when it comes to the issues chaidzo kunyatsogadzirisa nyaya yemvura chaiyo chaiyo maresources acho anenge aitwa availed anopedzisira ashandiswa mune zvinhu zisirizvo. Saka if I can get Mayor Gomba to come here so that pay that letter again, I can see I have it, but it's not that clear. But anyway, they getting them. The citizens said, "How you doing?"
I'm good, uncles. Hope everyone is good.
Yeah, I think and Rodera so good. Everyone is good. I hope everyone is good. How are you yourself?
No, not bad.
Good. Right.
You know,
talk to us.
uncles. With this one, maybe it shows our not seriousness as a population, because it's not a thing that only affects Harare only. You find it in all major towns and everywhere in Zimbabwe. One thing that we can agree on that it cannot be debated upon is that we are human beings, and as human beings, we require three fundamental things. One fundamental thing that we cannot question each other. We have always, everyone who has turned around and refused this has lost the argument and now is in heaven. Oxygen. We agree on that one. We breathe in, we breathe out for us to debate. 2, food. We have understood, we have tried it. Some have turned around and stayed 40 days, some have stayed 60 days, but no one has stayed a year. We cannot live without it.
Right.
Water, uncles. Out of everything else, food we can guava, but no one has been able to guava water and oxygen.
Absolutely.
Yet, as a people that turn around and understand that those are the fundamental things that we actually need, we do not take serious.
You're on mute, Zed.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So we do not take serious of the fundamental thing that we actually need. We can question healthcare. Me and you can have a debate on healthcare. You can say healthcare, and I say, I know, me, uncles, I play around with Nyangas, I'm good. But we can't do that on water.
No, never.
We can't say, no, me, uncles, I'm good. I drink champagne. It does not happen. So we know that is our fundamental need that we all need, yet we play around with it. We have to apportion. What is the word, uncles? Apportionment. Apportion blame wherever we come across it. First and foremost, the water is on the ground. According to the Zimbabwean laws, it is run by Zanu, and that is government. First blame starts there. It's a lake, it's a dam, you deal with government. For it to be in that condition is government.
Right.
The supply into the pipes, we deal with council. The dirtiness of the water, we deal with EMA and the other agencies.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, uncles, we are the ones drinking this thing.
Absolutely.
We are the ones that are complaining. Our family members, to be honest, the closest, the rest of the people, the people up there, let me tell you the truth, the people up there, their closest family members are not in rural areas or in these high density suburbs. They've got boreholes. With us, we shine at each other here with a borehole. When we say, I've moved up in life, I would have turned around and told you I've drilled a borehole in Makoko. Yet the whole family does not have a borehole, so we are the ones that turn around and die. Corella, you have not yet ED or any other of the government official go and bury their own relatives on Corella. Or diarrhea, they have not turned around and done that. Here is the problem. You know, we're dealing with the lake. The lake, in order for us to understand, when you put in, we have got a fascination with water, especially from being this side of the dryness. The only way you can understand this thing is if you go back to the reports. Uncles, this lake had a problem in the 1960s.
Okay.
Because of where it was built. It is built downstream.
Right.
Meaning everything that is coming out, that is going to get polluted from the towns, comes in. Do you know, in 2018, it is one of the most reported lake in Zimbabwe water source. 2013, uncles, the highest contributor to the pollution was not human beings as me and you. It was industry. We were putting in sewage, yes. People know me and you were putting in sewage, but the highest contributor was industry. But no one says that. Attribute blame where you come across it. At scale. Me and you can turn around and change our behavior. It can take us a fine and an arrest for us to change our behavior. But those industries are not going to take an arrest and fine to change their behavior. Where are they going to put that wastage? Yet the government knew this. In the 60s, it was a problem with pollution. In the 70s, it was a big problem they were talking about whether it won't reach even the early 2000s. And this was in the 70s. In the 80s, the government of Zimbabwe was told by the Rhodesian government that, listen here, government of Zanu PF, when you are running this country, you need to make sure that these cities, you build a dam every 10 years. In Bulawayo, in Harare, in Gweru, in Mtare, build a dam every 10 years in these cities because of the growing population and the need of water as you go every 10 years. They made the mark every 10 years. Yet they have not built any dam. Now, Harare is moving at what? At over 4 million people.
That is a lot.
With 4 water sources and 4 water sources that are turned around and built in all of them before 1980. 4 water sources that were holding on uncles to a population of 1 point something million. Now the population is 4 times more, but the dams are not 4 times more. Where do you think the sewage is going to go, uncles? Where do people think the sewage is going to go?
Yeah.
Because we still eat. We are not going to stop eating, same as we are not going to stop going to the loo. Yet it is the job of these people that were put in these positions, from council all the way to central government. It is their job to direct our sewage. But if they are directing the sewage now to the only dam that has to turn around and become the biggest source of raw water, what do you expect people? Because we do not want to put blame where we find it. We start off with central government because they are the ones that run. They've taken control of all the water bodies. There is where we start. As we are moving to the council, the seriousness of how we deal with the government is what is going to turn around and make sure that the council wakes up and start to answer questions nicely. But the unseriousness of how we're handling things ourselves is what they turn around and use now to run rings around us. 1 minute someone says the water is okay, next minute someone says the water is being supplied, next minute says it is not in control. We have to show that we understand the basics. You, Zimbabwean government, you control dams and lakes. That's you. We are going to deal with you, Mayor of Harare, when we are dealing with piping from the lake, when you are telling to take this dirty water into the pipes. How do you take it into the pipes? Because they're supposed to be supplied raw and clear water before you clean it. That's what the Zinu is supposed to supply you. So we're supposed to receive it clear, not clean. Clean is what you do yourselves with the machineries there.
Yes.
Yeah. But that water, uncles, was green.
Very green.
So how is it being supplied clear? And how are they taking it? Because at the end of the day, we are the consumers of these things. Yet here, uncles, where we are living in these countries that we are exiled in, we have learned one thing, that you have to protect your health based on what you consume.
Absolutely.
And for what you consume, you start off from where it touches your mouth and you go all the way to the source, and you do not turn around and give leeway to anyone, whether it's your uncle or not, because you are dealing with people's lives here. Yet in Zimbabwe, uncles, we are not going to do that today. We're not going to do that any other day. This is why we keep on dying here. Our parents keep on dying with illnesses that do not make sense, whether we've got water or not water. We keep on dying. I'll finish up with this. In Bulawayo, there was a cholera outbreak, uncles. People died. Kids, elders, and kids before COVID, or during COVID, when COVID was starting. Elders and children, because they are the elders are the ones with weak immune systems, and kids as well, kind of thing going on. They died. People ran around in Luvev. Do you know what the mayor said? The mayor said, no, it is because of the people. The people are turning around. I'll use this word, uncles, forgive me. People are turning around and using buckets to shit in the buckets in the middle of the night. And then come out in the morning and then throw away the rubbish and use the same bucket for water. We say to ourselves, when is Zimbabwe's uncles?
Right.
Have we done that even at our waist in 2008 when we were suffering? When have we used the buckets that we used for toilet to carry water to drink? When we wake up in the morning and go and sweep our houses, our yards with soil, we sweep those things. When have we been so undirty as a people? Yet that's what the government turned around and said. And that is the mark, even in Harare, even anywhere. That's how they take us. Because we do not take ourselves serious with what we allow them to give to us to consume. Uncles, I'll finish up with this. Water to a child, same as me and you grew up in Zimbabwe. You never, ever think it's going to kill you, especially when it's coming from a tap.
Absolutely, yeah.
You open
right
it, uncles, you put your mouth in, you're presuming
that is
that everything is good. Things that will kill you are dirty coming from the rubbish bin, not from the tap. Yet we are dying from the tap. So thank you very much, uncles.
Thank you very much, Zed, for that, for giving us, that historical, perspective as well. And, it's quite important, to understand, some of these things. And did it. Right. Thank you very much. Hey, Mufted, as we say.
Uncle, right, how are you?
I am good. I am good. Tungo celebrate a birthday. Rachi, Zenyi.
I know. Pakaipa. Not to celebrate one month, the whole month, you know how the Chivero does it.
Those are the whole man doing the scam.
December is sitting now, Chivero. No, very, very important topic, Yamurkunzai, Uncle. Very important topic. I just quickly, I think I would just say we have failed to, to make people accountable, especially on our leadership. I think that's where ATMN is from. And then from there, you find them blaming each other. You find no one taking responsibilities. But I think if we're that culture, whoever is in a leadership position and are really responsible for whatever, if, they can take account of what they are doing. And if they are not performing, they are out. If we had that culture, I think Jaiti Batsira, because what you just see there is no one who actually take responsibility. No one is actually, they can point fingers so good at doing that. And it doesn't matter who it is, and it doesn't matter the political divide. But I think we just don't, we don't hold these people accountable. And I think that's where the problem is.
Yeah. Baiwa handizvozvo because vanhu vakaziva kuti izvo vakatadza kurana zvinhu, the next thing akutovabvisa. I think you will become to have people vanenge vari competent vachirana some of these handiti maona.
Exactly.
And we need masystems kuti anyatsofunctiona kuti izvo pasaite a divide between central government and the local government. Like what Zeti he said kuti zvinotangira kumusoro kuti zvekuvakwa kwemadhemu nemalakes ndezvecentral government, and then zvokuzoconnecta mapaipi kubva kumadebs zvakuuyawo nenge kucity council zvouya kune mamwe ma-agencies and stuff like that. That division of labor iripo iyoyo in that supply chain haifanirwa kuwana painobreaka. But as it stands right now, we have got only Lake Chivero is the main water source in a city that is mushrooming in terms of the population, in terms of my resettlements acho ari kutaurwa, but there's nothing that is being done on the other side to complement or to make sure kuti whatever the size of the population that we have, we equally have also the infrastructure that can cater for the growing number of the people vanenge vari kugara imomo. But if you look at what has happened in the last 20 or so years, there isn't much in terms of improvement. There isn't much in terms of refurbishing whatever it is that is there, or removing the old pipes and putting the new one. There's a video that came out that was showing this huge sewer pipe yanga ine ngura, water sewage iringospila ichipinda mamukuvisi, and then there's another pipe that is next to it being said kuti izvo is the latest one, but already you can begin to see kuti the latest one yacho iyoyo condition yacho yairi haichaita. Saka you're finding kuti at the end of the day hapana maintenance iri kuitwa, and without maintaining this infrastructure, we'll get to where we are today, and it is quite sad, really. It is quite sad. But anyway, rega tiende kuna two boy muri sei?
Yes, and how are you?
I am good.
Good. Nandoseka pamati birthday rachira. Yatanachira was right.
Eh.
Kunoku tatobara kamwe kachira akadiki-diki ndikatoya nhasi.
Inga
Saka
magorogoro.
tuwano tinenge tinofurirana mabirthday achiona zuva rimwe chete.
Inga magorogoro.
Magorogoro mufela.
Pakatoipa.
Inga
Patine kachira.
birthday kako mana.
Saka chitoita times 2. Let's go back to our topic. Because question sometimes ndakeda mhoresa mukoma wangu. Mukoma takabarwa mufakosa. How are you, homeboy? Homeboy kumufakosa. Koza nzimbe dzaitengeswa kwamazai kuya. Wakambodya nzimbe inenge yaiswa manyowa emadhodhi here. Manakira adzaita. Waziziya here nzimbe dzekwamazai idzedzo. Hauzomboziva kuti nzimbe yabuda mudhodhi inenge ichitapira zvakaipa.
mukabva mazvitaura saizvozve.
But ndozvazviri taitombokwenda kwamazai kune kumafambs kwanzi kwamazai kwekwe.
It becomes gross.
Nemavheji acho shizha racho raitoita kunge nzeve dzenzou richitapira zvakaipa.
Aiwa zvakwana chiendai kutopika.
But alright, ndangotoucha kuproject oza zvezimbabwe guys, zimbabwe ndakutotadza kundoitsanangura sei. Last week pandaidzegedza ndimbotaura paya ndakatobata phone kuyanga yabva kumusha. Munhu akatengesiwa mukati kapfuko here kumaheuti kutengeswa mumacontainer so. Cousin yangu iyonzi akabva kuno kunyati akaenda kumusha akatenga akaonzi akanorwara mweya zvekuti angomwa kapfuko ikako kuti kapfuko kakato expire kudhara. Yeah, zveZimbabwe sometimes hazvichanzwisisika. But I like what my brothers said. Kune national projects. You cannot give them to the council to take over. So kona central government yakupa national project kuna mapfumi mari acho anoiwana kupi? Ndopano pakanganiswa nehurumende yeZanu PF nokuti mapfumi haana kana mari yeko akadhamuya haana kana. And just to make it things simple, mapfumi akuti kune 150,000 illegal structures. So I'm sorry. Munhu normal sometimes unoenda kutoilet twice kunoseta number 2. Saka kana paine 150,000 illegal structures, dzimba dzekuzimbabwe dzayo dzimwe kunochigara vanhu 8 ka ngarikoti vanhu 5 times 150,000 anatitus ndi makaenda somo wota nhamba yachona womultiply by 2 munhu ari normal kuti anonoseta number 2. Saka tsvina yacho yekuenda kupi iyoyo and for how many years? Ndo patave right now. Ende kune mukuvi siku yakuya ikungonowira kumukuvi siku yakuya. Omwana mukwana munhu wakuita tsvina inouraya kana nechipembere tichiri vanhu here maZimbabweans? Hazvichanzwisika tichiri vanhu here because ndautora chaizvo mukwasha aiwa tiri kumbodye chii nokuti vanhu vanguita tsvina inouraya chipembere ukumbodya chii at first? Guys, tikangoseka zvetichange tichikuita ngano tichiita patika but asituka pakaoma. Haana plani munhu guys. Akangoda power chete but plan haana plani kana one. Right now takutona kana even vana varume ana baba vakutambira one love rechingwa ndopatasvitswa maZimbabweans. Ende zvinongona kuti class system yachineri yakunyatsa kuoneka. Vanopiwa motikari hatimboona vachitamba isu, but vanopiwa mabhaketi maybe vanopiwa mabhaketi echingwa. Jesus. But solution mukwasha ingangoiri radical ende inga isingafadzi vanhu vakawanda, but ndo solution ingangoti dai tadzokera ikoko. Vakapinda muHarare vasina noti mukwasha iwa hiye haungaende haungangono kupinda muLondon usina pekugara. You'll be kicked out. Haungangoenda any city ungopinda usina pekugara, you'll be kicked out. So vakapinda muHarare. Why only Harare? Kana munhu uchibva unobva kuBulawayo, unobva kuMasvingo, unobva kuChivi, unobva kupi. You've got no shelter to go to Harare. Why are you going to Harare for then? So adanga mapfumo has to start a household ega kana brand kumfa kwose kwatakabarirwa kunogara mukoma wangu. Kana paine household kuti kugara mwana asire ipapo, he has to go out. Ngadzokere kumusha. Kana uchipinda muHarare usiri muHarare, you have to pay. Imi mama driver muchipinda muLondon mamubhadhara here.
Matogets nobhadhara.
Uchipinda muHarare usiri wemuHarare, you have to pay. Haungagari muHarare iwewe uda kunosquata. Dzokera kwaChivi. Pinda muHarare sano. Vanhu vaiti kana achitsvagirwa basa kuHarare aitsvagwa basa ari kumusha. Wenza basa rawanikwa muzukuru chiya mangwana niko chinopinda kubasa. Ende musekuru wako pamadays futi, he has to kick you out waunotsvaga pako pekugara. But kwasvika vamwana vekuti vanonorara pamusika paya, vamwe vanonorara mutauni, vamwe vanonosquata mudzimba imomo. 12, 15 vanhu vagara mudzimba 1. People, they have to go where they belong.
Right.
Noti kuno vanobhadhira marates kubhadhirira vamwe vanhu vasiri havasi kubhadhira marates but vakuda kushandisa mafacilities achona yayo. So tingararame chirudzi navanhu vakadaro. Inyaya dzemacorporation ka zvekupanana zvemavhotsi kuti wakapa zvemacorporation apa mavhotsi obva awanda but pavanovhotera vanhu vacho vobva wasiya. So vanhu ngavadzokere musha kwavo. Kana muharare muyamanga mukasara mablanda aya ndo vakanga vaine munyati wekutsvaga imba muharare ngavasara ariyo imomo nokuti ndo vakatenga dzimba muharare. Vasina dzimba machauti simple problem inoita shoma. Thank you but zvave kudya guys idyawo chikafu chakareruka mukapedza modyawo mayogati modyawo something nokuti kana vakuita tsvina unouraya nzouka.
All right.
Waipa.
All right. Chene munototera chirava newana. Thank you very much. Right. Regai fambire mberi. Yeah, it's a random idea. But anyway, regai fambire mberi. Right. Koma CK, can you come through? CK, I hope you're there.
Uncle, can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, I think Uncle Watsikatam because I was struggling to hear you.
Come on, guys.
Okay, now we
Yeah,
can hear
you're
you.
clear now, Uncle. Yeah, you went out for you went out for like 30 seconds or so, but you're back now.
I need it. Right. Okay. Six pence. I come through.
Yeah, no, thanks, Uncle. So I wanted to sort of like reinforce what Zeti said, but slightly disagree with him, Kuti. The person responsible for the mess that we're in at the moment is the city of Harare. And the city of Harare is a utility provider, meaning Kuti, they give water to the residents of Harare. They are the custodians of what is called the water safety plan. So the water safety plan is what Zetu mentioned to say, kana mvura iri patep, you look at the entire chain. Kuti mvura iyi yabva kupi, yafamba mapipes akachena here, haina here chingange chai contaminator from the point that it was treated. And equally so, in the source water, meaning the dam, you also want to go back kuti hapana here chimwe chinhu chingange chichicontaminata mvura iyi. Chinhu ichocho chatisingateste. As an example, the mayor said tinoshandisa the World Health Organization standards to test the water. But that standard has a certain number of parameters that you test against. So, as an example, in the event cyanide is not part of those parameters because the World Health Organization assumes kuti mumvura iri mudemu you are never going to have cyanide. So, as a city of Harare, they should guard against what's happening in Lake Chivero. They should understand all the activities happening around Lake Chivero that can influence stormwater that lake, to make sure that there is no contaminant that's going in there that they won't be aware of, which can then compromise people's health. Now, that said, I'm going to go to like the wastewater, meaning the water that you flush down the toilet. So that water has remnants of the medication that you take. If you're on chronic medication like antiretroviral drugs, you're going to get some residue of those antiretroviral drugs going into the wastewater. You're going to get the normal human waste. You're going to get remnants of paracetamol, caffeine that go into that water. And in addition to that, you're going to get residue of what are called endocrine disruptors. Now, these endocrine disruptors are, as an example, if your body produces insulin, such that it influences the body's response to sugars and so forth. When that insulin is not needed anymore, it is broken down and secreted outside the body as waste. Meaning, Kuti, you also get that in your wastewater. Now, all of those things, in addition to industrial effluent, they are then combined and they go into Lake Chivero. Once they go into Lake Chivero, they are just recycled back to our water treatment plants. And our water treatment plants, the current ones that we have, which is Morton Jeffrey, it is not designed to take out these contaminants, which are synthetic in nature, and a lot of them which are carcinogenic. And At this point, I'm going to stop and say, that is why I have advised everyone that I know that you should never drink tap water in Harare because of this very nature. So all those synthetic contaminants, known and unknown, that end up in Lake Chivero are not treated. Now, when the mayor then goes on to say, we use the WHO standard to test for the water and it is safe. Now, the WHO standards are two. There is one that assumes this is a dam which is in a pristine environment and which does not receive wastewater. So it asks you to test a certain number of parameters. Kuti, this water is suitable for drinking. Then the World Health Organization goes a step further and then says, if your water is contaminated by industrial and domestic effluent, then you use this more robust testing regime to determine if your water is conducive for human consumption. Now, that list, the city of Harare has no ability to test for it. Neither does any other municipality in Africa, because the only labs that can test for these additional parameters of source waters which are contaminated with synthetic organics are in Europe and in China and the United States. Now, I'll give you an example. To test for the entire variation of these parameters, which include the hormones, which include antiretroviral drugs, which include TB, just testing one sample and getting a full array of those results costs $150,000 just for one sample. So when the city of Harare now comes and says, we are testing this water and it complies, they are using the standard which is not applicable for their source water because their source water is contaminated by domestic and industrial effluent. So they need to use the secondary standard which they do not have an ability to test for, and that is where the problem is. Now to address all of these challenges, number one, if the city of Harare followed their water safety plan, which says, if we are taking water from Lake Chivero, has it been contaminated with any domestic or industrial effluent? The answer is simply yes. Then they go on to the next step. Then is the standard that we are using applicable? Then the answer becomes obvious, no. And that is where the city of Harare is now failing. Now, if they can't test for it and they want to move away from the secondary, more robust testing regime, it means that they now need to treat all of the effluent that ends up in Lake Chivero, and they need to guard the catchment around Lake Chivero to ensure that you don't get contaminants which then become problematic and cancer causing in taps. Now, after the treatment, which is superficial and obviously not adequate, you then have the piping that you have seen. And I think Uncle Matala mukati pane pipes andakaona a wastewater. Aitora samvura chisamvura muna mukuvisi. Right. Why would you think the ones that convey the treated water to your houses are not in the same condition? Because they were installed at the exact same time. Now, all of that leaching and that corrosion of the pipes that carry that treated water at Morton Jeffrey, let's assume for 1 minute that they treat the water to the right standard, which they don't. Now, all of that pipe work that is now bringing that water back to your house is in the exact same condition, meaning those metals are leaching into the water, and by the time it gets to your house, it is not in the condition that it was, when it was treated at the plant. So all of that accounts to a situation where Hararians should stay away from the treated water that is coming out of their taps. Because if they continue drinking it and eating the fish, they're exposing themselves to high levels of cancer, which it's obvious because a lot of these chemical parameters, are known to be carcinogenic in nature. So I think, I'll stop it at that point and hand over back the mic.
Thank you very much, Mkoma, for that informative contribution. Narotumirwa message handizwa ndivewo presentation yawo man. Motozomirira Mkoma kana tinge tapedza mozoita playback. Mokwanisa kuzoita isolate pataurwa naMkoma. Motora presentation yacho nhingi yavapa. I think kunesu manovice vasingatomuunderstanda kuti izvo zviri kufamba sei. Aiwa, thank you very much, Mkoma Sixpence. I really appreciate what you have said. Right. Can I kindly ask you again on that aspect, your solution? How then does building another facility? I mean, does building another facility help? Because it is obvious kuti it is now a poison, Charles. And for the treatments that you're talking about, kuti aitwe is going to be costing more money, which with our Zimbabwean standards in terms of kuchoboka, you would see kuti izvo kunenge kuchingonzi hatina mari. But will building another water body, another source, be a permanent solution to the current issue that we are experiencing in Chivero?
Yeah, so ideally, Uncle, you don't want to abstract drinking water from a dam that you discharge the wastewater. And, for obvious reasons, because it means you are discharging, all of the toxic pollutants that you consume, like my cleaning chemicals, my herbicides. Because if you look at it this way, wastewater in Harare, in about 60% of what you flush and what comes from industry. Then 40% is stormwater runoff. Meaning kuti as you walk in Harare on a rainy day, it's going to end up in the wastewater. Now, pane ma oil, ma grease, pane everything, ma chemicals anokwesheswa mutara, like vanhu vanosuka vachikanda panze. Now, all of that is going to end up in Lake Chivero. Now, when you design a water treatment plant, you then say, what is in this water? And what do I want to take out to make it compliant for drinking? Now, it means, based on that background, it means you are best off treating mvura yaunoziva zviri mairi and not treating mvura yausingazive kuti yakukura chii. Nekuti you might treat one parameter and not treat against another parameter yakukura kuhighfields yausingazive. So that is why going to a pristine environment which has limited chemicals is always a better thing. And then you separate where you discharge your effluent and where you take your drinking water. Now, what's happening with Lake Chivero is a case of, two things. One, an ecological disaster, meaning all the nutrients, nitrates, phosphates, Lake Chivero, it's essentially a fertilizer. And what they do when they go into Lake Chivero, they then fertilize algae, green here. So then it proliferates. It gets to a point where it bursts because you release the cyanobacteria. That cyanobacteria is toxic even to human beings, right?
So this is the one that is killing now the animals.
That is now what is killing the animals. So what happens is, because of the vastness of the lake, in areas where it's highly concentrated, algae and that is where it's more concentrated as opposed to the other side of the lake and so forth. So and the like. So the ideal thing would be to move away from that catchment which you don't have control over to a catchment which is more pristine and you have control over what ends up in that catchment. Because like I said, if I give you a glass of water which has things that you don't know of, it becomes difficult for you to treat, because treating is a negative feedback system whereby I need to know what I am removing from the water. Now, if you don't know what you're removing from the water, you don't know what to treat in the water. And the only way to realize is kupa munhu unonwa mvura iyoyo oti yanditi samudumbu. And that is not the way of doing it.
That is what I do.
So,
that is not ideal.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, I think I think Lake Chivero is as you say, it's a poison chalice. I think people should move away from it. But as an interim solution, because people are still relying from it, you now need to do an extensive analysis of all the contaminants that are in Lake Chivero, and then make the current water treatment more robust to ensure that as you come up with a more permanent solution, the water that is going to the residents is fit for purpose. So as a starting point is to agree with the standard that you are using is not adequate because it is a standard that is more suitable for pristine environments. So you need to move to the more robust standard, test for it, and then bolster the treatment steps to ensure that while you do whatever you do, residents are getting good water which does not expose them to cancer.
Right. Thank you very much. Appreciate. Yeah, bakaiba. Mkoma tuongeza makasimba here.
Mukoma Jerry makadiko. Happy Christmas.
Yeah, happy. Oh, matungoita in advance.
Hatitomiri noti takatomirira Christmas present acho makakanda ukuno kuya.
Aiwa, tinokanda.
Yeah. Thanks for the space Mukoma Jerry. Mukoma vari kutaura chokwadi apa pati the water nagekire situation iri kudzokera kumadhamu edu. But inini ndinemuono kuti zviri kutaurwa nevanhu kuti Harare population yakurisa kana zvaitika ichokwadi. In a normal situation, tingadei tichitochema kuti mvura yashoma muHarare, kwete kuti mvura iri contaminated kana takuti population yawandisa. But chiripo ndechekuti tikada kuanalyze nyaya yekuti yasvika sei apa. We go back to our politics. Harare City Council inopuwa mvura kana inotora mvura muma national reservoirs. Once they extract mvura iyoyo, they own it. Yava yeHarare City Council. Harare City Council kanchiti council handisi kubvira hangu vana mapfume vega, handisi kutarisa politics. Ndikutarisa the entire council. Kune ma-professionals, ma-engineers. Director of Housing Community Service is somebody anotozikanwa kuti muna akadzidza. Vane ma-experts anofanira kunge achivaudza kuti mvura yatatora kudhamu kuya yakamira sei pautsanana kwevanhu. Nemvura yatichapampa throughout Harare ichasvika kuvanhu ine hutsanana hwakadii. Nemvura ichabva kuvanhu netsvina iyaya inobva yakamira yakadai ichinokolektwa papi isati yadzokera kana vachiidzosera along the water bodies. Kunyangwe affluent yacho iri kudzokera uku iri kumbotritiwayo here. Is there any biodegradation yapromotwa kana kuneutralize some of the chemicals anenge achida kuneutralize? Ndo patinoona kuti panoleka ipapo. Then we come to politics yedu yokuti wakomana, this is a situation yekuti vanhu vararame. Haungati kuti kune vamwe vanoti ivo vanongotora mvura voendesa uko, kozoya vamwe vanozoblemiwa kana zvinhu zvinenge zvaitika kuti paipa pano neupenyu hwevanhu mukati. But mabodies anofanira kunge achidyidzana. For example, 144 million mamuchitaura yakapuwa Harare City Council yemvura yakato-underwritewa nehurumende. I don't know kuti Harare City Council yakazokuma yapapi, but ndakatonzwa pakunzi pakanesa kuti haina kuzoshandiswa yese rinoti pange pasingachabhadharwi chikwerete chacho. But kushanda kwacho vese kuti iyo hurumende inotarisawo here kuinspector through ima kuti affluent iri kudzokera along the mafeeder lines awa, is it safe for the environment? Ivo vanhu vokuHarare vaklinawo here, because really we cannot apportion government mumvura iri kupampwa neHarare City Council to its residents, because the residents pay for it, they are buying. Saka now is the owners here Harare City Council to give the residents clean water. So pane two basic things ziri kuleka. Kana chiti Harare yatora mvura muLake Chivero, yatora mvura yakaita sei? It's raw water. Ibasa reHarare to clean it. Kana Harare yakudzosera mvura, iri kudzosera mvura yakaita sei? Waste yacho iyoyo. It is their job to make sure that they actually process that waste. And opanouya hurumende yotisa kuti process yacho yaitwa zvakanaka here, is it not going to cause any environmental danger? But nokuda kwomusindo wanga uripo papolitics dzedu, kana kuti uriko, to say the truth, the waste is still going to come. And tikutotanga kuzviona iko zvino, tichairidza mhere, tichadyana, kukamana chaiko, just because of this politics. Harare haina kuvakwa nhasi, yaimbonzi Salisbury. Zvinhu zvazvisingaitiki izvo. Kwane vanhu vane ma-responsibilities, and those responsibilities either are not being executed. Total blame politics. Hatingablame kusadzidza muZimbabwe nhasi kunzi inenge hana kudzidza. No, it is the type of politics yatiri involved in, yatisvitsa apa. Kana vachiiti toxicity, ndiyo product yacho iyoyi. Saka kukoma mashondo ngatizive kuti mvura taitora kuChivero, taishandisa, taidzosera kuChivero yakaita sei, and ngakuve necertification yekuti mvura yadzoserwa nemvura yatorwa izikanwe kuti iri clean sei. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ndrotenda Mkoma. Thank you very much, for that. I appreciate your contribution. Yeah, it is quite, important. Kuti, like pamataura paya kuti ndambotaura inini nenyaya yesupply chain kuti yacho inofamba sei. Mukaona pakuita a break for whatever reasons, it means kuti izvo things are no longer working properly within that ecosystem. Saka, for the supply of a vital resource like water, there has to be concerted effort, and every effort must be put in place to make sure kuti whatever it is that happens when it comes to service delivery, it is not impacted by anything in terms of politics or whatever zvinenge zvichiitika. But there has to be an agency, a collaboration that ensures that water is delivered from the source to the household in a condition inenge yakanaka, in a condition yekuti mvura iyoyo is safe for people to drink. And it is quite important that we begin to be seeing things from that perspective as a nation. We begin to be looking at things zviri kuitika mukati menyika yedu yeZimbabwe from that perspective yekuti we are looking at the greater good. We are looking at what this thing contributes to the livelihood of people. Because the moment that we begin to be separating each other and segregating each other along whatever lines that we try to employ and we try to bring into some of the conversations that we have, then the only thing that we are doing to ourselves is a disservice, and the only thing that we are doing to ourselves is a situation here kuti there's going to be could deprive of what people really need to survive. And there has to be a point whereby we get that sorted and we get that right. Thank you very much for that. I do appreciate. Engineer Farmer, how are you? Please take the mic.
Thank you, Uncle Jet. Greetings, everyone on the platform. Interesting discussion that we are having here. I truly appreciate. I don't want to add on top of what the previous contributors have raised, including Sixpence, a very good presentation of our situation. But I want to talk about the other side of the story that we are not looking at. You see, water regulation is a business, okay? It requires customers that pay, and a supplier anokwanisa collect the bills. That's not happening in the city of Harare.
Right.
In effect, makatobobuda achitaura iye achitaura kuti collection rate yavo was as well less than 50%. And to add on top of that, if we remember well from some other spaces that I attended, City of Harare haina a billing system. many okuti vanobhila sei vasina a billing software. I think they've tried to appoint a consultant to develop a billing system for them at a very exorbitant price of 300 million US dollars for something that could have been done much, much less. So what does this mean? If the city of Harare cannot collect the rates and water bills from the people or the residents of the city of Harare, it simply means they cannot then be able to repair and maintain the water infrastructure. They can't also treat the water from Chivero, Harava, and Seke dams adequately, so that when it goes back to the city of Harare, inenge of acceptable standards, acceptable water standards. So, ipapo pa business side of the story apa, it's our major issue. Chechipiri, reticulation system inoshanda neinonzi cross subsidy, whereby the rich customers, they pay rates are higher so that they can then also subsidize vasinachi vasina mari. So in a normal city, the rich customers would be your industry, your businesses, and those who are staying to the north of Samora Machel. Now, the issue now iri muHarare ndeyekuti maindustry edu mazhinji are not performing well, mamwe akatovhara. So the equation resubsidy manje harisina kumira zvakanaka. Meaning now, over and above the issue yatataura yekuti hatisi collecta rates, hatisi collecta bills emvura, taane an imbalanced subsidy system, further worsening the situation for the city of Harare. Now, the other issue ndeyekuti the city of Harare yatora mvura muchivero yainda mudzimba yashandiswa, mvura iyoyo inodzoka zvakare as sewage. Tine water treatment, wastewater treatment systems ari muHarare. Because of the issue yokuti they are not being run as a business and the rest cannot sustain their operations, maintenance, upgrades. Chinozosara chichiitika ndechekuti mvura inozobuda muwastewater treatment plant ikoko yakuidzokera futi kuchivero ikoko inenge iri of the worst quality. As far as handifungi kuti kune treatment iri kuitika. From my experience hangu zvinotenderera nichiona in this region in Southern Africa, very few countries can actually afford to treat water adequately. South Africa, as it is, and in experience nayo, is struggling with treatment of wastewater. Now, a rich country like South Africa, if it's struggling to adequately treat its wastewater, what more of our country, Zimbabwe, which we know is going through the throes of economic hardships. So we are in a fine mess. The sewer irikupinda treatment irikupinda muchivero, it's not treated at all. Inongori pipe irikubva musewage mako, maona mavideo mamuchitaura, irikubva mutoilet yopinda mudhamu. Then treat futi kubva mudhamu tichidzosa muHarare. The same, we are not adequately treating that. Moto Jeffrey, haina zvairi kuita, manzwa zvataurwa namukoma sixpence. Then it's the same like that. So what is the solution for our city of Harare? And I want to say, before I go to my solution, I want to identify the key players who are to blame. Number one, government of Zimbabwe, or government of Rhodesia at the time, yakavaka zveshuwa Chivero in the wrong position because it's downstream of Harare and Chitungwiza. That have been said, we should not have allowed, this is now government of Zimbabwe, the situation yekuti tinosvika at this stage yekuti our wastewater inongopinda muchivero without being treated properly. If the sewage was being treated properly, that is not this ecological disaster atinayo kuzasuku. City of Harare as well is the polluter of Chivero and is the abstractor of clear water from Chivero again. So ava ngavanyanyisanyanyachema zvavo because ichi vari kuzviitira ndio vari kuita problem yekuti havatreat sewage yavo, ndio again who cannot treat their water adequately. Then kune government departments akaita sana EMA. If someone is discharging wastewater into a natural water body, that wastewater should have passed certain standards. in other countries, I think, I know it's my green drop standards. I'm not so sure to Zimbabwe if we adopted those green drop standards. Before you discharge water into a natural water body, how far to discharge wastewater is retreated. That's not happening in obviously Harare. As you can see, our wastewater treatment plants are Akawora, and our pipes are just rotten like that. So Emma, Zinwa to a certain extent, because Zinwa zvayo handinyanyi blame because Zinwa is provided the lake which is Chivero. It is also building Kunji Dam through the ministry. So I wouldn't blame Zinwa a lot. Emma, City of Harare, and to an extent the government of Zimbabwe are the ones that really need to wake up and come up with a solution. So what is the solution? First of all, we need a policy, sort of a policy alignment. Right now, hatizivi kuti mvura yedu inofanira kutreatwa, yatreatwa and soil yedu yatreatwa. Who funds that? Are we going to say it's the citizens who are going to, the residents of Harare are going to fund that? If they're going to fund that, then the rates and taxes that they pay to the city of Harare should be cost reflective. You can't charge them bills or rates that at the end of the day leave a gap between the cost of treating water in the city of Harare and the amount that they've paid. If that gap is there, then someone should pay for it. So if the government says, city of Harare, you can't raise your rates to a certain level or above a certain level, if there's a difference between the cost of treating water and the rest that the city of Harare can bill, then the government should come in and then subsidize. You see, that's not happening in Zimbabwe. So the business case for water treatment, for wastewater treatment is already gone. Once we don't have a functional business, business of water supply and wastewater treatment in Harare, then zvatirikuita izvi zvinoramba zvichingoitika because hapana mari. Ndosaka muchiona mapaipi asingakwanisi kureplacwa, mapaipi achingodhubuka, mvura isina machemicals. Remember, city of Harare requires 11 water treatment chemicals kuti mvura ichene. And I say mvura ichene in quotes because mvura yabuda muchivero inoramba ichingonhuhwa, inoramba ichingori those things vataurwa na6pence earlier on, impurities iwayo. So before we even want to demand new pipes, new dams, new what, the business case of water supply needs to be rectified. Can I have a sustainable? Then we move from there and we are able now to start to say, okay, Mariavapo, takuchinja mapipe, Mariavapo, we are now upgrading Moton Jeffrey, Mariavapo takuita upgrade vana fail wastewater treatment plants, ivo varimo Harare, etc., etc. So this is my side of the story. We as Zimbabweans, then, we don't care about the business side. We don't care where the money is coming from. So the thinking needs to have a paradigm shift to an extent. Before we demand something, if we can't afford water treatment, water reticulation, then guys, let's come to that stage and say, the citizens or the residents cannot afford water. Then we actually take this deficit to the fiscus. Out of the taxes, no matter in Zimbabwe, part of it needs to go to pay or to subsidize city councils. So I think that's where we are actually having a problem there, the business side of water treatment. Thanks, Uncle Gerard.
Right. Thank you very much for introducing that into the conversation. I think we are going to have people that will speak, to that as well, which is, quite important because we need to have a world view on this, aspect so that we see where the problems are and where the solutions, can come from. I was looking at, at IMA and, they're actually, stating some of the issues that we have with our water pollution in Zimbabwe, the activities that are causing that, like agriculture activities, including excess nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus. We're talking about sewage and waste water, oil pollution, radioactive substances. Yeah, so I mean, today, we are looking, into sewage and water, but the conversation so far has actually brought out that in addition, to this, there are other contaminants that end up in this Lake Chivero, and because of our inability to contain the water as it makes its way to Lake Chivero, you're going to find that treating that water is going to be a costly venture. Right. I see Dawn, you haven't spoken. So can I go to Dawn and then I'll come to you, 6